Oh, Black Adam. My first overall observation of Black Adam was the whole movie felt very cynical to me. It's like they just pulled off the shelf a whole bunch of ingredients of what makes a superhero movie and assembled them. And here's the product. It felt like there was no heart in it at all.
Like nobody tried really that hard.
Yeah, but it just felt like just such an assembly line created superhero type movie.
I think The Rock, I don't know if it came out on film, but much like The Witcher was for Henry Cavill or like Deadpool was for Ryan Reynolds, I think it was like The Rock's like passion project for a while. He definitely wanted to do it, but I kind of know what you're talking about too. It's like some young, inexperienced executive or somebody was assigned to it. He's like, what do I do? And they handed him a manual, like the ABCs of a superhero movie. Just follow this, you'll be okay.
And The Rock, he tried. Anything Dwayne Johnson is in, he is just a beacon of charisma. I mean, like the camera loves the guy. He was predictably good. I mean, he's good in everything, but everything else was just so blah around him. It didn't feel like they were using him to his full potential.
Why not give him pointy ears? I don't know how hard it would be or how dumb it looked, or if they maybe tried it out and workshopped it and it didn't work. But I mean, The Rock looks like The Rock. Not much you can do to change that. Black Adam has pointy elf ears. Why not give Rock pointy elf ears? I would have liked that. Unless it looked completely gay.
They probably tried it. They probably screen tested it. Dwayne Johnson said, no, fuck that.
Well, I mean, my problem is take Black Adam and have him walk into a store and buy a lot of khaki clothing and come walking out, and he looks just like The Rock did in the last 8 movies he did.
Yeah, that's true.
Why not give him pointy ears? Plus, the role he was in was kind of it was as dynamic and in a lot of ways similar to the T-1000 in Terminator 2.
You're talking about the T-800, my friend.
Whatever, sorry.
Geez, get your Terminator model numbers right. God.
There's been so many since that movie that it's hard to keep track. His relationship to the little boy telling him to use the catchphrase. He's normally a smiley, charming guy, and in this role, he's not. So I think maybe a little bit of the Rock magic was not there because the role didn't allow him to be the Rock. But I mean, you know what I'm saying about Terminator 2 with the little boy, right? That was evident.
Absolutely, yeah. And the fucking kid, he was the worst. Not the worst kid I've ever seen in any movie, but the worst thing in that movie. At what point in the writing process does it become a good idea to insert an annoying child? I guess the John Connor parallel kind of works there, but John Connor was not an annoying child. He was kind of an exception.
Yeah, and he was pivotal to the story, whereas this kid was just a little D-bag.
He was just there. He was attached.
And the movie, it started out with like fully 7 minutes of exposition, and it's all the little boy's voice, just, and then this happened in Kandak, and then this happened in Kandak. They didn't even try to bury the exposition. They just were just like, fuck it, just talk for 7 minutes, and we'll show some pictures.
Yeah, it was like a book report or something.
Plus, when they finally introduce him on camera, he's doing like Marty McFly. He's on the skateboard, he's tooling around town. They have a couple of car chases where Biff tries to run him over. And I started thinking like, oh, he's in an Egyptian or Arabian-like city and he's on a skateboard. We've never seen that before. I wonder why that is. Could it be because you can't go to a city like that and find 10 feet of fucking clear pavement? There's either going to be like a goat or potholes, Kandak, and Marvel does it, so DC does it. You can't really jump on them for it. Apparently you need that for the narrative. But basically they're trying to make Kandak the Egyptian. They're trying to make it their own Wakanda, right? I mean, they have this special super duper element called Eternium.
Eternium from He-Man's planet, I think.
Eternium, besides being a stupid name, they were supposed to have been like this great society and this great, I don't know.
Dumber fake rock name, Eternium or Unobtainium?
Ooh. Unobtainium is a bad name because once you get it, it becomes irrelevant. The name, at least. Yeah, whereas Eternium, you don't know. It could be...
It's forever,
It could be eternal. You don't know. Intergang.
Which is the worst name for a fake gang ever, by the way.
Was not made for this movie. They are an existent thing in DC, so you can't really dump on the movie for that.
They were stuck with Intergang, but come on. That was just the laziest name for a gang.
I thought it might have been a little bit of woke douchebaggery having them instead of, they had to have a bunch of evil European bad white men instead of any kind of brown bad person.
That's illegal to have now.
The prequels, Star Wars prequels, would have been, I think, a lot more metal and awesome. But I can understand why they made the choice to make a droid army be the bad guys, because you see the Jedi wreck and face throughout all three of those, but 99% of their kills are on robots.
Right, yeah.
They're not like chopping heads off a motherfucker. I mean, they do occasionally, special moments, bad guy, force users, Sith, that kind of thing. But just general random slaughter, they have robots. This movie, I think, wanted to have that same kind of, want to see Black Adam completely rape and face, kicking ass, doing this shit, because that's what he does in the comics. But we don't want him killing a bunch of brown people, so let's get our droid army. Our droid army is a bunch of Australians or whatever, a bunch of white dudes, evil white dudes. So I thought that was a very deliberate decision on their part. Everybody hates white people. Let's get down.
It's the only people you can legally kill anymore.
Evil white mercenaries. We have become the droid army. Roger, Roger. We're introduced to the plot after all the Marty McFly bullshit. And Marty McFly's mom, the actress Sarah Shahi, the first time we see her, she rolls out of the back of the van after going through a checkpoint and instantly goes into like 2 minutes of exposition.
Yeah, that's what I have. That's my note, is girl in box appears to give exposition.
You think you get out of the box and be like, whew, that was a close one, or whew, it's hot in there. No, but she leaps out and starts telling us all about the history of Teth Adam and Kandak and shit. Oh. It was weird.
Because that's what you do when you roll out of a box. You know, you show up and you start explaining to everybody what they already know.
Expositing everything. Did they ever mention why she knew where this thousands of year old, yet within an easy van drive of the city tomb that housed the crown and Black Adam? How did she know that? Was she an archaeologist or a professor or?
I don't know. That would have been something good to maybe include in the exposition she was dumping all over us.
I don't think the writers ever figured that out. I thought maybe I missed it. I was looking back and was like, wait, how did they get to the what? And it's not like it was far away. They were able to drive there in a shitty van.
Well, if you're a woman in a movie without superpowers, you're either a genius or a kung fu master. So she's not a kung fu master.
So she has to be a genius.
Super genius.
Exposition machine, super genius.
So that tomb that they just, you could just walk right in there?
Casually just, yeah.
It's a 5,000-year-old tomb. Yeah. They didn't have to dig. They didn't have to go through any checkpoints. They just drove up and walked in.
I guess Kandakians aren't hikers or something. Like nobody likes to camp or whatever.
It's been here for 5,000 years with the levitating crown in it. Nobody's thought to just come in here and get it.
That's a hallmark of a dumb movie, is that it's routinely all these things hit you and you're just like, wait, that no, why couldn't they have just simply, and you could fix it. You can go back and find all these things. Like you could have like a beta reader. You could have your test audience, like maybe some other people in the industry watch it and be like, this part didn't make sense. But they're just like, nah, it'll be fine. It's good. It's good.
All they got to do is hire me. I don't charge that much. Just hire me. I'll read your script over and say, no, wrong, fix.
Yeah, I do it for like $50. $50 and some popcorn. When Black Adam came out, the initial fight with him, I liked it very much. The use of his powers, especially when he first popped up and he was in the cave and he was like using his electricity to like totally fry people and throw them through roofs and shit. I thought that was a good use of his powers. It looked good. Nothing looked cheesy, I didn't think. And it was very Black Adam. Black Adam in the comics is awesome because recently, last 10, 15, maybe 20 years, he's one of the times, also like evil Hyperion of the Squadron Supreme, right. But he's basically a Superman facsimile, or at least that kind of character, that level of strength, power, flight, etc., where they have him being friggin' awesome. Like somebody insults him and he flies at him at like Mach 8, slams into him. The guy completely turns into jelly. Like Black Adam just like destroys people with his power, his strength, and his speed.
He's kind of like Homelander. He just has no qualms about using his power.
Very, very Homelander-y. Yeah. The first fight scene, they actually had him like tearing some arms off and frying people and stuff like that. So I thought that was...
But still having a battle going on where there is no danger whatsoever to our protagonist, you don't need to draw it out that long.
Well, that's the challenge you're dealing with when writing Shazam or when writing Superman or writing all this stuff. So what do? They always have one special element that can hurt him. So in this movie, it was Eternium.
Yes.
And how do we know they can hurt him? They fire a rocket
with a label
at him with Eternium written on it.
It was labeled.
When you're firing depleted uranium bullets at people, you want to make sure that depleted uranium is written right there on the bullet where they can see it. Even inanimate objects in this movie are exposition machines. Everything has to tell you what's going on because the audience must be fucking stupid. They just go ahead and write that shit right on the goddamn rocket.
They did demonstrate a vulnerability to Eternium and then never referenced it again.
Yeah, that wasn't really like plot central in the least, was it?
That never came up again. Thanks, movie.
What if it comes up in like the next Shazam movie? Because Shazam would have the same weaknesses. So maybe it's like they're thinking ahead. Maybe they're smart. They're not smart. These movies are like the teacher teaching to the slowest kids in the class. You know, they want to make sure that all of the fucking idiots in the audience get what's going on, you know, because they don't want to leave anybody behind. So I guess that's virtuous of them to want to make sure everybody's on board, but it just is stupid.
I'm glad they held my hand through that scene. You know, I couldn't have comprehended otherwise.
After the big intro to This is Black Adam, and then Eternium knocks him out, and they 10 seconds before he falls unconscious, he walks up to the side of the van and they roll their windows up, and they're scared shitless of this murder machine, and then he falls unconscious, and then the next scene, he's in the bed of the little boy, and she's letting her son hang around with him. Aren't you scared shitless of this person? Jesus Christ.
This guy just killed 40 people.
I know. Why are you letting your son? What the fuck?
You have no idea what he's got to do when he wakes up.
That was really bad parenting. That was bad. She was too busy expositing to be a good parent.
Well, I guess that's where her primary focus in life is. So.
And she actually says to him, "I don't need you teaching my son violence." Then why are you?
Why are you
letting him?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. If you don't want him teaching your son violence, then don't have your son around this evil, killing God person. And I'm watching him being, you know, Black Adam, The Rock, and all the people around him who actually were actor enough to muster up some kind of vague, muddled, Arabian-sounding accent. I'm like, he's from 5,000 years ago. Maybe they spoke differently back in Kandak 5,000 years ago, and they had like a Midwestern American accent or something. Rock didn't even try.
No.
Do you think he tried and they just like aborted?
They're like, yeah, we can't have The Rock with a funny accent. No, we're done. just talk normal. Everybody will be fine with it.
The director's like, all right, I'm calling it. Rock, take off those ears. Just stop with the accent. His disdain for walls and for walking, the way he floated around a lot, that is very, very comic book Black Adam. I'm glad they had that because Black Adam does not do walking. He floats around like a friggin' super god, which is kind of cool.
He crashes through walls and stuff. I just thought he was being a dick. I mean, he knows where the door is.
That's true. He does acknowledge that they had doors back then.
Yeah, I mean, why? Why go through the wall? Just go around, man. You're just being a dick at this point. You're just in somebody's house, man.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. They're taking a DC bad guy, and there might have been like an effort or two or a run or two in the last like 5 years trying to make him into a good guy, but I don't think they were successful, and they were like so grossly discordant with what Black Adam is. Black Adam's a really, really bad person, and the fact that they're not playing him that way and they're trying to make him into Terminator 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Even a bad guy uses the door.
Even a bad guy.
Even a bad guy. I mean,
that'd be a good T-shirt.
Another note I had about when Black Adam was walking through their house, smashing through walls and shit like a dick. It was yet another instance of a movie showing a better movie on TV during their crappy movie, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's just like, I really wanted to turn this off and go put on Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
So instead, in order to toe the line with Rob's rules of movie making, never reference or show another better movie, they should have had like Carrot Top's chairman of the board or something playing.
Have like Biodome on or something.
JSA, Justice Society. Thoughts on them?
Justice Society. Okay, so why and how are they different from the League? I mean, is it because they're more directly government controlled? I mean, Justice Society just sounds a little, I don't know, a little fruity.
Fruity.
It does. It does. I'm a little scared of the Justice League. With the Justice Society, are they going to show up and debate with me?
So leagues are inherently more vicious and powerful than societies.
A league sounds like it's coming to kick my ass into the ground. Society, yeah, they're going to present me with an injunction to cease my villainous activities.
You can't lay that on this movie, though. The JSA exists in DC Universe.
Much like Intergang, it's one of those things that they're stuck with and have to work around.
I am very familiar with the JSA. I like them. I read a lot of their comics.
Were you excited to see Pierce Brosnan?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally was. He was a breath of fresh air into the movie, an actual actor.
I've heard a lot of reviews like totally dump on the movie, and they always pull back and say, yeah, Pierce Brosnan, good to see him. He did great. He was good.
He was. Every time he was on screen, it was like, oh, what's Pierce doing?
You could argue that shit from this movie has splattered on a lot of people, even the indomitable Rock. Probably not. Rock's, I think, shit-proof.
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan is like a gleaming shit-free person from this movie, so he did a good job. JSA is kind of like when you think about the Watchmen story and they look back at the first Minutemen.
Right.
The JSA is like that. They were around way back then, and they were kind of like the first, and the Justice League kind of based themselves on them. And then recently, when I say recently, probably the last 25 years or so, they kind of sort of came back. And there's certain people that have always been attached to JSA, Dr. Fate and Hawkman being two of them.
Right.
Also, Atom Smasher in various incarnations.
Cyclone, yes.
She was actually from the comics as well. She's JSA. Atom Smasher, I liked the special effects. I don't necessarily know if I liked his story or his character. They needed a Gimli the Dwarf. They needed a guy to like fall around and step on his dick and slam his toe in the door. They needed a doofus for the team.
So it irritates me they did that to Gimli. It's like my favorite guy from the freaking books.
And they turned him into comic relief. So Atom Smasher was there to be the big guy and also comic relief. So they basically watched Civil War and were like, oh, Ant-Man, he's funny and making jokes, but also kind of slapsticky at times, and he turns big. Let's do that.
Good work, guys.
What'd you think about Hawkman?
Hawkman was pretty good. I liked him. He was okay. He filled the role adequately. I don't have any huge problems with how he operated. They powered him up massively. Hawkman is not that strong. Hawkman doesn't throw cars around. What was up with that? But
we have probably seen various attempts to bring Hawkman to live action, and they've all been very bad. It's hard to do realistic-looking wings in any way that doesn't look like complete shit. They had Daniel Jackson from Stargate come into the CW universe as Hawkman. Yeah. The wings looked so silly. They look like stage props. They look just dumb. And I mean, they've done them in a couple other things before too, and it just never works live action. This is the first time that they actually pulled it off well, where he looked good, the wings looked good. I liked how he actually had a little bit of armor instead of being like, shirtless green pants Hawkman. I don't know exactly why his mace head spun, but the mace of a hawk person, a Thanagarian, is made out of friggin' nth metal. Maybe it does that. I don't know.
I don't know how that improves the function of a mace.
Nor do I, but then again, I'm not from a super advanced alien race called Thanagarians.
I guess not.
I'm not sure what they were going with either. Is he a Thanagarian? Is he the resurrected Carter Hall that actually also lived back as long 5,000 years ago?
I was under the assumption they were doing the resurrected thing because of his long relationship with Dr. Fate. I just assumed it had been through a few lives.
You think they would have done like a little head nod whenever Pierce Brosnan was hinting that Hawkman was going to die? You think he'd been like, I've been there before, or no big deal, I come back, or some shit like that. So they kind of danced away from that, even though they had numerous opportunities. The connection to Amanda Waller. I didn't like JSA having anything to do with Amanda Waller. JSA is like the ideal, the epitome, what the Justice League and Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman were like trying to mimic whenever they made their Justice League selections.
They're trying to put Amanda Waller in as kind of Lex Luthor figure here on the other side. And
plus, I mean, Viola Davis needs a win after the Warrior Queen didn't do so well. that got a little too much controversy, so she needs a win. Let's see. Later on in the movie, I don't know exactly what scene it is. It's just a note I wrote down, but I wrote down Sarah. That's the mom figure, the exposition machine. Just at some point in the movie, she starts expositing directly to Black Adam, specifically about shit that he would know because he was there. He was there. And she's still expositing because, the audience needs to learn this shit. But why are you telling him? And it just, stop. It's so, it's such juvenile writing. What is wrong with you? So at about the 1.5 hour mark, the movie had its first ending. I mean, they could have just stopped the movie right there.
When they put him into super jail?
That would have been a good ending. At that point in the movie, I don't know if you felt the same, but I was like, all right, cool. That was an hour and a half. So let's wrap this shit up.
Let's move on with my life.
Have him break out or be needed, not 10 minutes later, but maybe next movie, My attention had wavered so much to the point where I don't think I was like taking notes on every other thing. So I just have one final note that probably encompasses the last 45 minutes of the movie. And it's, oh, good, Sarah's doing more exposition. I don't even know what the specific scene was, but it was just her telling the audience what's going on again.
All she did was just show up and explain what was happening to everyone, so everyone was all caught up. After Dr. Fate breaks him out of prison, what's the problem with saying Shazam right there? Why did he have to kick 12 guys' asses and then swim out and have like the big stupid death fake out? Just, what was the problem? He couldn't just say Shazam?
Well, you're right, and that was a glaring error that I noticed. But I think what it comes down to is he knew that The Rock has a clause in his contract that he can't lose a fight on screen. That's more powerful than Black Adam's Shazam powers.
How bad did they need to have the, oh my god, is he going to die fake out?
I bet their decision was coming back to the whole, how do you make a Superman, somebody that powerful, it's suspenseful. How do you make that? I bet their way was, what if we have him escape without his powers?
Might have been a good time to use Eternium bullets.
Yes, Eternium.
What if that had suddenly come around? He's escaping. Load the Eternium bullets.
You're right, but you're basically like accusing a stupid movie of being stupid.
I know, but come on, man. I mean, just pull the thing out of your mouth. Just say Shazam.
2.5 hours in the movie, as this is unfolding on screen in front of you, and you're like calling bullshit and taking notes on it. Don't you feel like you're kind of like smacking around a retarded kid by this point?
Well, yeah, but I mean,